This class is called Scribble Scrabble Collage, and so we're going to be doing some scribbling on our paper and on some collage paper before we go ahead and collage down our images on top of the Scribble Scrabble. Okay, I love doing Scribble Scrabble because it's very, to me, it's very relaxing. You don't have necessarily a plan. You just scribble like you were a kid. It's very releasing, and then you're able to, you know what, it doesn't matter what it looks like because you're going to collage right over top of it. You can collage a little bit or you can collage a lot over top of it, because if you like some of the Scribble Scrabble, you can leave it showing, right, instead of covering it all up. So let me show you the piece of artwork that I made for this workshop. And you're going to be able to see this is scribbling in the background here, these circles, and there were some other marks here on this side. You've got a repeat of some of those circles, right? And that is scribble. Then there was a big old scribble underneath here, and that's just a technique called breaking the surface of the paper. I love to do scribbles to break the surface of the paper because a lot of times people will look at this and they'll say, oh my gosh, what do I do? And so this technique of Scribble Scrabble and then putting your collage down helps a lot of people to just get going and break the surface of the paper in order to begin their collage process or their painting process. It could be any painting process. I know Olga Soby, that's S-O-B-Y, on YouTube, she writes an intention on her canvas before she does an acrylic paint pour. So she's in there with a paintbrush and she's writing, you know, freedom, inspiration, all these really cool words on her surface, and then she does her paint pour on top of that. So this is a way to get a little bit of something down on the page, and then that gives you a jumping off point or a starting point in order to do your collage. Here are a couple of other examples that I've done. So this is more focus on the scribble and less focus on the collage, but you can see I collaged on here a vintage 1957 postage stamp, but you can see acrylic in the background and all the Scribble Scrabble on top. I have another one of these. You can see it helps to do things in series, so when I'm working on smaller pieces, I'll do a whole series of them. So here's another one in that same sort of vein, where I've got a bunch of pencil scribble and acrylic marker scribble, and then I collaged on, in this case, just one postage stamp. But of course you could put more collage over top, whatever blows your hair back, right? But these are a few ways of incorporating scribble together with your artwork, where in this case you see more of the scribble, and in this case more of the scribble is covered up, so the scribble is more in the background than it is an actual feature of the artwork. Okay, let me set those aside for a moment. I wanted to let you know before I go too much further that May 9th is World Collage Day. It's the second Saturday of May each year, and this was started in, I think it was 2018, by the Collage, does it say it right here? Well, it says it really tiny, but it's the Collage Institute. But it's collage spelled with K-O-A-L-J, which I think is really interesting. But they are the Collage Institute. Their website is Collage, K-O-L-A-J, institute.org. And they actually have a physical location in New Orleans. I'm going to hold that up for just a second if you want to take a picture of it. I've been following them. I discovered them about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, and so I've been following sort of their activity on the internet, but they created this World Collage Day. And so now, yeah, it says it was started in 2018, and This is actually what it shows on Google when you Google World Collage Day. But you can spell collage Collage like we normally do when you search for it. But you're going to find it. You're going to find the Collage Institute when you do that search. Okay, World Collage Day, May 9th, this coming Saturday. So that'll be before my next workshop on that Sunday, right? It's all right. It's all right. And let's see, what else do I have for you? Now, today we're still going to be using the Collage du Jour book in terms of some technique. The scribble technique was something that I've known about it for a long time, but it was brought back to the forefront of my mind by Jane Davies. I'm doing a year-long workshop with Jane Davies, and so she had a session where we did a bunch of scribble, and oh my gosh, I had so much fun doing that. The scribbling was amazing. And so the Collage du Jour book, I'm going to be combining the scribbling first with another technique in the Collage du Jour book. And I'm just looking to see where oh, I put a tag there. Yay. So I really enjoy this project from her book. This is Lucy Duclos is the artist. And I love this vases. These are each cut paper, these vases. And here you can see some of the process of doing that. Oh, let's go to the next page. So you put them onto your surface and then you start making fun marks. But this is what I really liked, was the way that you can make it and then cut around the edge and get an outline. And that's what I did for this piece right here. Oops, let me get that off of there. That's what I did for this one so that it created an even outline right here. Isn't that fun? I love that outline effect, and so that's what I wanted to show you how to do today. Is we're going to scribble the background and then we're going to do some collage on top, including creating a shape like that where we cut and we fold it and cut it, and then you get an even like mirror image on each side, which is really, really fun. So that is what we're going to be doing as the project. And the surface we're going to use, we're just going to be working on some watercolor paper. So I have my trusty Canson XL watercolor paper here. It's a 140 pound. What's great is it's a watercolor paper, but it'll take all of your mixed media, okay? And especially when you're doing multiple layers and stuff, it's good to have mixed media, or it's good to have watercolor paper. A lot of times, believe it or not, mixed media paper is usually thinner than watercolor paper. So let me show you one. Let's see what weight this is. Okay, so this happens to be one I just had sitting next to me, this Daler Rowney. And it is a 250 GSM. That's the weight of it. Well, watercolor paper that I have here in front of me from Canson is 300 GSM. So it's just that little bit heavier paper. And I find the heavier paper is, for me, is better for when I'm going to be putting a lot of glue down, right? Messing around with water and putting glue down on top of it. If you're just drawing or you're doing a light, like you're just going to paint directly on top of it with acrylic paints, then the mixed media paper works great. But I like it to be that little bit heavier, and so that's why we're going to use the Canson XL watercolor paper. Now, on top of that, we need some things to draw with. And so you can use I have two pencil containers here next to me on my table. One pencil container contains pencils that are not water soluble. And I also have my charcoal pencil in here. But these are pencils that you can put them down, and if you get water over top of them, they're not going to move anywhere. Then I also have on my table another bin And these are water soluble pencils. So these are pencils that when I make marks, I can go over them with water and they're going to smudge a little bit. And I love that about these pencils. So I do have a pot of both next to me because you use different pencils for different reasons. And oh, and another one that is not water soluble is, sometimes you'll find these even in the kids section, but this is by Koh-i-Noor, which is an artist grade, okay, pencil. And I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah, you can see it, but it has all different kinds of colors in the lead. Isn't that crazy? That is nutso. Welcome in over on Whatnot and on YouTube. Thanks for joining me tonight. But this has lots of different colors right in the pencil lead. And this is a lot of fun for the project that we're going to do tonight. Actually, I have two different versions of this. And okay, you see how tall they are? So which one is my favorite, right? The one that has the purple and the blue in it, that seems to be my favorite one. But we'll use this green and orange one today because I need to work that one down since this one's getting low, right? You can see which ones are my favorite colors. So besides the pencils, oh, another kind of pencil that I really like was introduced to me by another artist years ago, is the Jerry's Artorama. So Jerry's carries this, nobody else does, the Jumbo Jet Black. So there it says Jumbo Jet Black. And I'll put links to these items in the description of the video on YouTube later tonight after the show is over. But you can see here, yeah, see here it says Jerry's Artorama on it. But it's a nice, big, dark pencil, and I love that about it because that's what she was saying, that you get these really great dark marks with this big honking pencil, and I like that about that. It is not a water soluble pencil though, okay, just so you know. And then some other fun things that I like to use for the Scribble Scrabble are these Caran d'Ache. These are Neo colors. So Neo colors, hey, mixed media girl, welcome in, welcome in. Neo colors come in non-water soluble, and this is the non-water soluble. So these are Neo color 1, meaning that they will resist water. And then in the drawer over here, I have tons of Neo color 2, which are water soluble. You can use either one for this process of what we're going to do. I happen to have out the Neo color ones. Then we're also going to be using acrylic markers and fine liners. So this is just a little tub from, oh, I forget, some sort of dinner meat or something. But it was perfect. I was like, oh, my markers are fit in there. That's awesome. So I've got different kinds of acrylic markers and fine liners. This one right here is a Winsor & Newton fine liner. My all-time favorite fine liner that I use all the time is the Sakura Micron pens. And so you get them in sets like this, or you can buy individual pens. That's the cool thing about them. Actually, this set, I'm noticing, this is my sepia set. So it says right here what the color is, meaning that these are a dark brown instead of being black. Sometimes you don't want black. Sometimes you want some sort of color. And so those are the sepia ones, and I love that sepia set too. And then I have some of these big. So when I work bigger, 11 by 14, 18 by 24, so bigger size than will fit on the camera here. I use these big honkin', again, big markers, acrylic markers. These are by Pebeo. They gave them to me. Thank you, Pebeo. And so you can see they have a big, beautiful tip. What I like about these, oh, I have paint on me already. Okay. What I like about these big ones is you get a 15 millimeter wide line, a 5 millimeter wide line, and if you use a corner, you get a thinner line. So I find even though they're more expensive than your smaller markers like this, they're actually, there's a lot of paint in here because they're fatter. And so you get a lot more flexibility out of the big ones. And you can see here, I have a whole bunch of them, a whole bin of them next to me, with all these different colors, and I can get different shapes out of them. Now, the funny thing is, here is the Pebeo acrylic marker with that big wide top. And you would think, okay, you're looking at the Posca marker here, and they're about the same size, right? But this Posca marker actually is a chisel tip. So if you like to draw calligraphy style, it helps to have the chisel tip, right? The big old chisel tip. So just bear that in mind, that this big Posca marker, let me see, they put a code on it. It's called a PC8K, and it actually says chisel tip right there on it. So if you like to do the hand drawing, like hand calligraphy and stuff, you might prefer this chisel tip, which is also very, very versatile, because you can get, it's about 5 millimeters this way, about 3 millimeters on its end there, and then you can also use the corner for a nice thin line. So you can get various lines with this one as well. It's just don't be faked out that they're both the same size marker. They have two totally different tips to them, right? So whatever you like to do best. And then of course we're going to be using tons of collage paper tonight, and some scissors. So I have my big pair of scissors here that I got from Blick. Thank you, Blick. No, I bought them, but they were on sale at Blick. It was awesome. And then I have some little cutting scissors, which we call fussy cut scissors. So they're small ones like this. A lot of people who work with fabric have small scissors like this. And because that way you can cut threads and do small motions that are not as easy to do with these big ones, right? So I keep a small one handy. And then I happen to have a little tray. This is the lid to some sort of container. And I keep small pieces of paper in here from offcuts. But the larger papers, you can buy them. This is my favorite. This is a scrap pack from Black Ink. You see here where it says Black Ink? You'll also see the listing sometimes as Graphic Arts. So I think Graphic Arts is the distributor, and Black Ink is the company that makes these. This is a scrap pack. So these are small pieces of really nice artist grade paper. And I mean, I've bought these over and over and over and over again because I go through them a lot. But besides these purchase papers, oh, and right next to me here at my table, I have tons of rolls of beautiful paper. So at your art stores, you can get, oh, this is like a Halloween one with skeletons on it. Isn't that fun? Oh, actually it goes this way, doesn't it? I like the one that has a crown on it, on one of the skeletons. And the flat, but this is beautiful mulberry paper or lacta paper. It's all, if it's made for art, it is acid free, and it's perfect for including in our artworks. And I have a whole bin full of these round papers. Next to me here, sometimes you find something, you'll go to a store and they'll wrap your item in a really nice paper. So you see this one has fleur-de-lis on it, right? Well, when I took it out of the package, I said, now that tissue paper is too nice to throw away. So I've been using this tissue paper. Sometimes I'll paint the tissue paper. If I have leftover paint, there's a little bit of a translucent paint right there. So yeah, there's all kinds of paper you're going to find. Now, what is helpful is if you know that the paper is acid free. Like, I don't know if this paper is acid free. So when I put it in my artwork, I don't make it the star of the show. It's just a little, something on the side, right? To add a little more texture to my artwork, because I don't know whether that's acid-free paper or not. But all the paper that I have for my art, like these scrap pack, that's an acid-free paper. And then Oh, and by the way, you can get a spray that's called Make It Acid Free. So if you have a paper and you're not sure if it's acid free or not, you can spray the front and spray the back of the paper and then make it acid free. Okay? So we have ways to make that happen. Um, and then next to me here, oh my goodness, I have tons and tons and tons of papers that I have made. So when I say that I've made them, whoop, hold on, I've created papers. So this is antique music that was falling apart. And on Whatnot, there's a friend of mine is Salmon's Girl. That's SALMONS underscore girl, GIRL. And she sells ephemera and books and things like that. And she often comes across this torn or music that's all falling apart and books that are all falling apart. So this was from a stash that she gave me the last time I placed an order for books with her, and she threw some of this old music in because she knows I love to use it. And so you can see here, I took markers. I took these acrylic markers, and I went over top of it to create a grid, and then that is cut up and put into my artwork. That's actually in this piece of artwork that I made. Oh, it has a bunch of stuff on top of it. But the artwork that I made for this workshop, I used some of this paper in it. Then there's also paper that I have made on the gel press, and that's about 3 lessons ago, I think, on YouTube. If you go to the live tab on my channel, then you can find one that was the gel press monotype printing. And this was some of what we were doing. And there is some fun imagery from the gel press. Let's see. And then this is rice paper. So you can take rice paper, which is actually relatively strong, even though it's very light and translucent, and you can paint acrylic paint onto it. And then here I use those markers, those acrylic markers, to make designs on it, right? And so this is how you can create your own colors. And what I like about creating my own papers like this is that the color is not even. And so I like the fact that the color is really sort of wonky. And then also on rice paper, I did stamping with acrylic paint on a roller and just a big old foaming stamp. So you can do things like that. And let me see, here's a piece where I was using a felt tip marker there and some scribbly scribbles there. So this is how you can make some of your own papers to put into the artwork. Let me show you another one. This is ink, India ink, again on rice paper. Rice paper works beautifully for putting down on the collage. So I make a lot of my own handmade rice paper ditties like this. And I actually use this piece. What's missing here is what's in that painting that I showed you earlier that I made for this workshop. So there are a lot of ways that you can make your own papers. Here's one that's sort of a purpley blue, and this is on paper called newsprint. So you can also do that on newsprint paper. And so to me, and we've been doing this together with Jane Davies in her year-long class, is just making sheets and sheets and sheets of different colors of paper that we then cut up for collage. We can make designs on it, or we can leave it solid, but we have these beautiful solid colors. Now, let's say you have kids at home and you have construction paper. Knock yourself out. Just use what you have. Use your construction paper. Those were just some ideas for how to get other types of paper. Now, for the black paper that I did the vase with, so you can see this was the shape, and I cut the vase out for the artwork that I made for this show. And this is black paper. So I'm going to show you the kind of black paper that I used. I used the, come here, you. I used the Arteza sketch pad in black. This is great paper. It's not too heavy, so I like that it's a thinner paper, which makes it really easy to collage down um, onto your other papers. And it's acid free and all the good stuff. It's made for artists. And so again, it's the Arteza sketch pad, but in black. Fantastic. I have just some scribbly stuff in here that I was experimenting with, some reflective things, but I really like this paper for doing this kind of process. Construction paper, I find, like the kids' construction paper, is a little thicker, and I really like this because it's strong, but it's thinner, and that's awesome. So I'm going to show you how to cut shapes like this and cut the outline shapes using this Arteza paper right here. Yes, there we go. But you could do this same process with any of your colored papers as well. Let me just set that aside for a minute. Another paper that I found that again is an artist grade paper is this toned paper. So you can find toned papers, and this happens to be a sort of, again, it's an artist grade paper, but it's a little bit thin, and it comes with several different colors on the pad. You see the color here that's kind of terracotta. So again, it gives you really nice options for different solid colored papers that you can cut out or you can draw on or whatever in order to make your artwork. Okay, and then besides paper, I want you to bear in mind that you can also use fabric to glue down onto your surface. And I'm going to be showing you what glue we're using in a moment. But here's a piece of fabric I pulled out for tonight's show. I love this stuff. This is the, it's made where? In Bali or Thailand or someplace like that. I love the design of it, right? And so I'm going to cut a piece of this off, and we're going to put it into our collage. And we're going to be using the same medium to glue the fabric down as we use to glue the papers down. So let me show that to you real quick here. It is acrylic gel medium. So see where it says gel? There are many different brands. This is the Pebeo brand of the medium. And then the other one that I like a lot is the Liquitex Professional brand of the medium. But it is acrylic paint with no color in it. And you're going to say, yeah, but Tristina, it looks white. Well, it looks white in the tube, but when it dries clear. So if it's a gel or a fluid acrylic medium, it's going to dry clear, okay? Unless it's something like a modeling paste. So if it says paste, it's likely to dry with a color to it in the acrylic mediums. But if it is a gel medium or a fluid medium, it will likely dry clear. And they come in two different types. So this one is the matte, and so is this one right here. And see, I wrote on the top matte gel for myself. When I'm looking, you know, at a bunch of bottles inside a box or something, I know what that is. And then it also comes in gloss. So this is the Pebeo Studio Acrylic Gloss version. And most of the time I use matte, hence the larger matte and the smaller gloss, right? So most of the time I'm using the matte, but sometimes if you have a paper that has a sparkle to it, you want to use the gloss over top of it so you don't lose that sparkle, including something like this. These are flakes, metal flakes, copper and gold metal flakes from Pebeo, and they, if I'm going to put those onto my artwork, I want to be sure that I'm using the gloss medium to glue them down with, because if I use the matte medium, then it's going to completely get rid of that beautiful shine. And we don't want that. No, no, no. Okay. Oh, I have one other thing here in front of me that I'm seeing that I'm like, oh, I should probably tell you about that. And that is, I like to go back in when I'm doing my Scribble Scrabble with some pastel. So this is a new pastel. You can use any kind of pastel. And this is what these look like. These are old, y'all. I bought them because I like to reclaim old art supplies if they're still going to be good. And this is by New Pastel, Eberhard Faber. So these are acid-free, excellent, beautiful colors. The nice thing about pastels, dry pastels like this, is they'll last forever. The colors are amazing. So I use these to kind of go in and give myself a little bit of extra pops of color here and there. And we'll do that tonight so you can see what the effect is. But let me set them aside for the moment so that they are out of our way. And we are going to go over the table. One other thing before, though, we go over the table is this is a palette pad. So this is from Blick. It's a palette pad for your mediums. So when we're dealing with mediums or we're dealing with acrylic paint, my favorite color right here, fluorescent pink. So if we're dealing with paints or acrylic mediums, this is a good surface to put them on. The other, and you can see I was doing some for getting ready for this workshop. Besides that, you can also use, where are they? Right, they were right here. I have old newspaper things that come in the mail like this, little ads. And then oftentimes to save myself palette paper, and when I'm just collaging, I will just put the collage medium on here and then use this. So I'll show you how I use both of those as we're getting into the collage part of the show. We're going to need some sort of brushes or palette knives to put down our collage. And so these are my favorite sizes of palette knives. We have the little triangle with the sharp, straight edges here. And then the big one if I'm doing larger pieces. Or you're going to use some sort of flathead brush like this that we're going to use for the collage. So either one. Plus I have some water here. Okay, I'm dropping stuff. That's all right. I'll get over it. Let me get my paper towel out because you're going to need some paper towel. And then we will go over top of the table. So we're going to start with Scribble Scrabble for this. And so like I said, this is my Canson XL watercolor paper pad. The 140 pound. What I like about this particular pad is that it has the ring rings on the side, so that I have other works that I've done in here, and then they just stay in the pad here, or the kind of notebook. Isn't that great? Plus, you can flip it open if you have a larger table and you want to work on two at one time. You can do that because you can work on both the front and the back of this paper equally well. Okay, so a good watercolor paper, it should be fully sized so that you can work on the front or the back. Okay, we're going to start with some Scribble Scrabble. And the first thing I'm going to use is my Koh-i-Noor, we call it magic pencil, that has all of those different colors already incorporated into it. And you might say, oh my gosh, Tristina, what kind of Scribble Scrabble are we going to do? So what I did was I went out onto the interwebs and I found this new website, and I'm really happy with it. It's called Magnific. So if you see there, it says Magnific, magnific.com. And it used to be called Free Pick. So some of you might be familiar with Free Pick. I was not familiar with it, but I went out and I said, look, I want some scribble art. So you don't have to do this alone. There are a lot of other artists who have made art with scribbles. And if you're not confident in what subject or how to do scribbles, you can look it up. And so these were our free images off of Magnific, and I will put a link to this website in the description of the video on YouTube when the video is over. But I love it because you can see all these really fun scribble designs. And here is some more of that, right? So just different ideas for scribbling there. And then same website here is these scribble circles, which I think are fabulous. Fantastic. Just gives you different ideas for how to scribble within a shape. You might make a square, you might make a triangle or a rectangle, but here are some ideas for different types of scribbling to put inside those. And then this was one that they had in color on there. Isn't that fun? So different artists prepare these designs. These are vector images, and they put them on Magnifique and for you to be able to use. Just make sure when you're using a website like that for your reference material that you check the licensing, meaning how is it that you're allowed to use it, and what attribution do you have to give to people and that kind of thing. Okay, so you can find these images that I'm showing you on the Magnifique website, but it gives you some good, maybe a jumping off point or a starting point, right? For some different kinds of scribbles. Then this is another lady, Mood Body Studio on Instagram, and she's an art meditation teacher. So she shows you a lot of different scribbling techniques, and I love that. Here she makes little scribbles, and then she just goes around those scribbles with lines. You see that? And then this one, she puts down her hand and does an outline around her hand, and then does some more scribbling around it and just starts putting colors inside the different cells that she created with her scribbles, right? Here, she just took a piece of paper that had a bunch of acrylic paint on it. So, for instance, I always have leftover paint. And so, where did I put the sheets? I have a couple of sheets next to me somewhere here of leftover paint. Let's say something like this. And then you can just do your scribbles all over it and then cut it out and create a grid pattern with it. You could cut squares, like I say, squares, triangles, circles like this, but she has some great ideas on her. And plus, she does a lot that is, okay, this is how you can meditate. This is how you can relax. This is how you can reduce stress. I just really love it. So it's Mood Body Studio. And it says, create and meditate with Jamie. So I will have a link to her Instagram in the description of the video on YouTube. And then before we start scribbling, I wanted to show you a very famous artist named Cy Twombly. So it's CY for his first name, and then TWOMBLY. This is from cytwombly.org. And this is one of his paintings. And you can see it. What I like about it is it's rectangles, but it's scribbled rectangles. So they are falling, I call them falling over rectangles, right? It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Normally a building goes straight up and down. Well, these are normally a rectangle, has straight sides, right? But he's leaning them, he's curving them. So it's encouraging you to look at something that is a common geometric element, but he's completely scribble scrabbling it so that it becomes a more artistic expression of a rectangle. So I want to go over those with you while we're getting ready to scribble scrabble so that we have some ideas. Why don't we do a few of these Cy Twombly, that's a mouthful, right? Cy Twombly rectangles to get started. So you can either hold your pencil like you would be writing, or a lot of times for art, I hold it like this, just in my fingers, my four fingers, and then I put my thumb on it. Turn your hand over, and I do it this way so that it's a little more loose. Okay. Welcome in over on Whatnot, by the way. I'm doing a collage art lesson this evening, but we're starting with what I call Scribble Scrabble. So we're just scribbling, and right now we're using Cy Twombly as our inspiration to just break the surface of the page. You may not even see this once we get done with our collage, but he's doing like this. And when I have these pencils, this magic pencil with all these colors on it, if you turn the pencil as you draw with it, then you can get different colors out of it. Let's go down here and do it. Maybe do a skinny one, and maybe do a fat one. So I'm just sort of doing a continuous line, right? Ooh, like that. Okay, so there's some what I would call falling rectangles like Cy Twombly. So inspiration from Cy Twombly. And then let's look at some of our other scribbles from the Magnifique website. So now I'm going to switch from this to something else. Let's see, what else? Oh, ooh, okay. This is not a soluble, oops, this is not a water-soluble pencil, but this is a water-soluble pencil. This is called Graphy Tint by Derwent. And this is my favorite color, the ocean blue. That's why I have a whole set of these, a whole set of whatever, what are they, 24 or 72. And I pulled this one out in particular, the ocean blue, and have it next to my desk because I just love it so much. And you'll see in just a couple of minutes. So we have our falling rectangles, and now I want to do some scribbles that I like, that you'll find in a lot of my artwork. And they are just where I start, and then I just go around, and I want it to be very organic. And I'm actually turning the pencil as I'm doing it so that the lines are not perfect. I don't want perfect, I just want fun. And another way you can have some fun with this is just put your pencil in your other hand. Ah! So I'm like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? Plus I'm turning it, but I'm doing it with my non-dominant hand, which is just so much fun. Give it a try. So I'm actually creating several patterns here. I've got the patterns of these falling rectangles. I've got my circle patterns. And just do what feels right to you, because, you know, it may be partly covered up or all covered up when you get to the point of putting your collage over top. So this is just breaking the surface of the paper and having some fun, y'all. All right, I'm going to show you this in a minute when we put some water on there. Let's look for another. What else are we going to use? Let me grab a some of these. Ooh, you know what? Let's do this right now for line, for some fun line. We're going to grab one of these Biggie Bigs right here. Yee! My favorite color is the Caribbean blue. Actually, there are two of them here, so can you tell they're my favorite color of these? Let's use the Caribbean blue. So this is acrylic paint. And because these are acrylic paint markers, even the smaller markers, oftentimes if they're acrylic, you have to shake them. So you're going to hear, if I do this, you'll hear the little marble inside there. And so you need to shake the acrylic markers. And another thing is, most of the time, like with these big ones, I store them on their side, which is just recommended. I've seen that recommended by multiple manufacturers. Just put them on their side if you can, while they're while you're not using them. Okay, so let's do this. And I'll show you the different kind of lines. Ooh, another thing is these get so juicy. You can also do this and get spatters. Do you see the spatters there? I love spatters. What I like about spattering with a marker better than spattering with a brush is you have more control. So I just did some spatters, and they're right here, and I didn't get it like everywhere all around here, which is what happens if you use a brush, right? The spatter normally goes everywhere. But I'm going to show you some of the different lines, marks that I can make with this. So I've got my big marks. Let's do it the big mark this way, right? So I can cover a large area, or I can use this other side here, which gives me the little bit smaller, like that. and I can use it on sort of on its edge, on its corner, and that will allow me to get a smaller, more continuous line like this, right? Oh, fabulous. Oh, I'm so happy right now. But that's using one of the Biggie Big markers. Now I have lots of small markers as well. Ooh, let's get an orange one. I kind of like the blue and orange that I see going on here. So let's get an orange one. These are Artistro markers. These are my favorite ones right now that have the brush tip and the dot tip. Because with the brush tip, yes, you can draw with the brush tip. Let's get some of these other, what do I want to do here? Oh, I like this one. No, I like this one, where you have a line and then you have these, like, it looks like a fence. So let's sort of draw a fence over here. So I'm just using the tip, and I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm actually, I love embracing the wonkiness. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go up a little bit more this way, up a little bit more this way. So this is just an acrylic marker. The other thing I like about this tip, and let's switch to a different color. What I like about that tip is that you can make raindrops with this brush tip. So let's do some raindrops. Where? I guess I'll just do it right here. So I just put it, this is another reason to have a good paper like I'm working on, the watercolor paper. Because I find some papers, when I start to put the acrylic markers on them, it's just, the acrylic marker starts to show through, and I'm like, no, I don't want it to go through to the other side. That's the nice thing about the 140-pound paper. You see how nothing's going through to the other side? Yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so I'm just taking this tip, and I'm starting at the tip, and then pressing, and then sort of moving my hand down like this, in almost a seesaw motion, in order to get these droplets like this. Okay, so there are a few drops, right? Remember, this is just mark making. You may or scribbling, you may or may not. It may get all covered up. You don't know. At this point in the process, you just don't know. Okay, what else? What else do I want to put on here? I want to use my Caran d'Ache. So these that I have in here are the Caran d'Ache Neocolor ones. So let me show you on here. It says right here, Neocolor 1. So these are the non-water soluble. Okay, these resist water, and they are artist grade crayons with light fastness, which is why I like to use them. Then there's another kind, which is a Neocolor 2, that is water soluble. But there's another water soluble crayon that a lot of artists like to use called Woodies. So these are Woodies, and they are so much fun. They are water soluble. So let's play with that just a little bit. Okay, this peach color, beautiful. Let's try the peach color in here. And let's look at some more scribbles. I really like this sort of just freewheeling scribbly thing right here. So let's do that a little bit. And instead of doing it like a pencil or holding it like this, I'm going to hold it like a kid would, right? Don't kids just pick up their pencils kind of like this? And then they go... So we're just going to pick it up like that. They're nice and fat. They're called Woodies. They're actually originally designed for kids, but then adult artists got their hands on them and they were like, oh, no. These are for us, y'all. These are for us. So I'm just making some. And the cool thing is your marks and my marks, they are not going to be the same. So we can do the same process and it can look completely different. Okay, so this got a little bit of the blue acrylic marker on it because it wasn't quite dry yet, but you know what? It does not matter because these are water soluble. So if I just get my brush with a little bit of water on it, like this, you can easily clean that off. Right there. Just took it right off because this pencil is water soluble. So now it's not on there anymore. Fabulous. So they clean up very nicely. Let's see, what else do I have of those that would be kind of fun to put in there? Maybe a pink. Ooh, I kind of like this lavender. What about the green? Oh my gosh, y'all, that's the thing. You have all the art supplies and then it's like, what do I use? Okay, no worries. I'm just going to put like a ring right in here because this is water soluble and the pencil underneath is water soluble. So we're just going to see what happens when I hit it with water, because I'm just laying down some fun designs and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put some water in there. Okay. And don't be fussed about the design because we may cover it all up, right? All right, let's put that one away. I'm going to put this one away. What else is here? Ooh, okay. I love doing this kind of, it looks like an electric, it looks like an electronic message or something, right? The amplitude up and down, the sine wave. So what am I going to pick to do that with? I think I'm going to use one of these, which is the non-water soluble. What color? What color am I doing? I'm kind of called to use this maroon color, sort of. Okay, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to start up here. And I'm just going to create that kind of sine wave. And then I'm going to come back down here. And I want to do something similar. Just start it from here. So I'm just sort of doing the sine wave like that. Okay, so that is what I call Scribble Scrabble. You're just sitting there, you're playing with different shapes, different media. Maybe you're experimenting with different media. This that I just put on is not water soluble. So you see when I hit it with water. Let's go ahead at this point and hit it with water. So I've got a Princeton Velvet Touch 1/2-inch stroke brush, which I like because it's soft. So it'll be fun to, now I'm going over top of the lines where I have water soluble paints. So in this case, this woody, the woodies that I used, those are water soluble. So I just want to go around it a little bit and sort of soften the lines. So there we go. Now, if this scribble here was Neocolor 2 by Caran d'Ache, it would also be water soluble and I could run the water over it and it would move. But the Neocolor 1 that I like to use for this process is not water soluble, which means it's going to sit right where you put it. And watch, if I go over it with the water, nothing happens, right? It stays where I put it, which is awesome. So just so you know the difference, right? Water soluble versus not water soluble. Okay, let's go ahead then. I've got a little bit more of this. Let's make it like a little bit. I can take some of the color out there and just bring some of that. Okay, and now over here, I put that this water-soluble pencil, Graphitint from Derwent. I want you to notice on the pencil, do you see there's a little paintbrush right there? So generally they'll either say Aquarelle on them and or they'll have a little brush on the pencil. Then you know that it is water-soluble, okay? And that was the Graphitint Ocean, Ocean Blue, was it? Let me see, what was the color? Ocean Blue, yes. And so I'm going to add water to that now. That's these lines here. So the pencil gives you a little bit thinner line than the woodies, right? So the woodies are these big fat ones like this, like that. That's the woody. But both of these are water soluble media, we call them. Okay. You're going to notice that the falling rectangles in the back here, they're not doing anything because they were made with a pencil that is not water soluble. Okay, cool. We're getting some cool color out of that. Very diffused. And that's why I like to put some design down and then come in with my water and see what I got. What do I have? I can drag the color out there. Nice. Isn't this fun? Oh my gosh, y'all. This is so fun. Okay. So it's a great way to get started, get your process started. Okay, cool. This little one up here, and we're just going to throw some of that around. Very, very organic. Okay. So there you go. We've got some water-soluble stuff going on here, some non-water-soluble stuff with the acrylic markers. They are not water-soluble once they're dry. They stay put, even these drips right here. Okay. But then you've got your woody and like this, and your other pencil that were both water-soluble, and they're getting wishy-washy. And what I like is I like this very soft little bit of color that they give off. You see, like the paint, the peach gives off a little glow around it like that. That is so much fun. Okay, so now we've got some scribble down, and it's time to think about our collage part of what we're going to put on top. And basically, while I'm getting my collage papers together, this has a chance to dry, right? So where I put the water will dry up, and then we'll be ready. You know what? I want a little bit more spatter before I go to that. So I'm thinking, oh, I was thinking the red, but maybe I will do a pink because I'm obsessed with the Pebeo fluorescent pink. So we've got fluorescent pink paint in the tube acrylics, and we've got the acrylic marker with the fluorescent pink. So one of my favorite colors to play with. Let me just, what I'm doing is I'm juicing up the tip. So you have to press the tip in order to get a lot of paint into it. And now I have a juicy tip here. And so now I'm going to throw some, yes. Throw some of the paint. Fun. I love doing spatters. Spatters are awesome. Now, if you were a little annoyed with the spatters, you know what you can do at this point? The spatters are thick. Let me show you. You see how thick the spatters are? So, oh, and that did go all over the place. Hold on a second. I want a damp paper towel so I can wipe a little bit of that off. I was getting a little crazy with that one. Hey, come here, you. There we go. But what you can do is you can take your palette knife and like down here where I've got the juicy parts, what if I go a little bit that way and then a little bit this way? Isn't that fun? So I'm getting a little something different. What if I go this way? What if instead I go this way? And then I do some that are up this way, right? So just, this is your time to experiment when you're going to collage over top. Just creating that Scribble Scrabble background. Nice! That makes me happy. Somebody else could look at it and be like, what the heck is that hot mess going on over there? But you know what? It's just a background where you take the colors that you love and just have fun and experiment. That's the beauty of this part of the process. Actually, I have this beautiful Jumbo Jet Black pencil that I talked to you about earlier. Don't worry about running it through wet paint, even acrylic paint, because you can just put it in your pencil sharpener and sharpen it right off, right? So let's do, maybe I want to do a little bit more of those rectangles because I kind of lost the rectangles that were in there. And so I'm just going to go right here with this kind of black one, and I'm going to put a few of those funky rectangles back in over here. And I'm just sort of doing some walking rectangles like that. There we go. With the black. And then I want to do some swoops. I love doing swoops. Do some more swooping here. That's enough. Okay, I just wanted to bring this dark pencil into there some. And you'll get to know, as you do things like this, you'll get to know your own favorites. Like I love these circles. And so I would, what can I put the circles on there with? Let's use this pencil that is not a water-soluble pencil. So I'm going to hold it where I can get some good pressure on it. So I'm just going to do some pencil circles here that are not water-soluble. But I'm kind of mirroring what I have on that side over there. What if I do it like this, a little harder? And I'm just moving it around as I do it. So I get these funky circles. I don't want anything that's normal. I want it to be just really odd. There we go. Okay. That gives me a background that I'm happy with, that there's enough going on in all the quadrants of the sheet so that now I can start looking at collage. I'm putting my pencils away. Ew, that was so much fun. Okay, putting away my woodies. If you wanted to, you could have some paint, like maybe something like this, and then you put the paint on, and again, you go over it with your palette knife, and you just experiment and play, okay? Permission to play at this part of the process. Actually, for the whole process, y'all. What we're gonna do. The whole process, you can just play. It's okay. Okay, now I'm going to put next to me, I'm putting my palette pad, because that's what I'm going to be working on top of for when I'm going to be gluing things. Let me put that down here. Oops. Let's see. So I'm putting the palette pad next to the notebook. Let me make sure that's all showing. Yep. And then we have the palette pad here. Oh, you know what's in the way? My coffee. Move my coffee out of the way so we can go up like that. There we go. And you can see a little bit, just a little bit more of it right there. There we go. Nice. All right. Now let's look at papers. And at this point, I'm not thinking of too much. I'm just looking at what shapes do I want to cut, or maybe there are shapes that come right out of here that are really cool. When you're doing this kind of Scribble Scrabble background, hey, Desert Diver, welcome in. When you're doing the Scribble Scrabble background, and then you're going to put collage on top of it, if you want the Scribble Scrabble to show through, you're going to need to use some sort of transparent paper, right? So this paper right here is opaque. If I put that down, you're going to lose whatever's behind it. This paper is translucent. So if I put that down, you're still going to see a little bit of the design through the back of it. And then there are other papers here that are just super filmy. And when you put this one down, you're going to see almost the entire design through it. Okay, so bear that in mind as you're picking out your different papers to put down. What parts of this do you want to potentially obscure, and what parts do you want to have remaining, showing? So I really like this theme of the pink. Plus, on this piece, you see how we have a swoosh right here. So maybe it goes right in there. So now it's auditioning, throwing down some papers, just sort of beginning to get the idea of a theme, or not. And you don't have to use the paper just as it comes here. I can cut this into, say, a triangle of some sort. Boop. Maybe I'm putting a triangle somewhere just to create some tension, right? If I put the point down, then it creates tension. Let's make some tension here. There we go. But what I like is this earthy color sort of balances with the earthy color that's up here. So not too crazy, just some fun initial stuff here. Now let me take a piece. Let me take a bold color. So here I have a sheet of red that I painted. So this is rice paper and I painted it with red acrylic paint. So let's cut. I like working with circles. So let me cut a circle out of here. You can cut any shape that you want. If you're following along, just cut whatever shape you want. Whew. It's not really much of a circle, is it? Kind of. Okay, now let's say that I want the, I don't want the full circle like this because it's opaque. I want some of the stuff to show through it. You can, oops, where is my little needle tool? So I have a needle tool, right? And I'll make a hole somewhere there, like that. And then I can get my little scissors in there. So let's take my little scissors like this. Remember I said you want some fussy cut scissors with a small top to it right there. So then I can come in here and I'm going to cut. And now I'm going to have a wonky circle with an empty center. Isn't that fun? And then I can save that circle from the center to use later. But now I have this really cool wonky cutout shape that I can put on here because I have circles that I've drawn on there. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. Where does that need to go? Somewhere. There's red here, so maybe to balance my painting, I'll bring some red over this way. So let's do this. Now the red disappears on the pink, right? So I'm not going to want to put the pink there. I'm going to want to put this pink somewhere else. Let's see, where do I want to put it? Maybe up here, like that. Just put those two right there. I've got my red going right here. Now sometimes I will use the same piece on the same piece like this. And then that way, same color, they kind of talk to each other. But hey there, Leanne Phoenix. Love the color. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is just red paint on rice paper, red acrylics on rice paper. And that gives you some beautiful paper to work with. Now, what else do we want here? I might move this so it's slightly overlapping this triangle right here, right? And I need to move this up just a little bit. I don't want this circle to be in line with this circle right here. I want it to be a little off center from there. Now, bear in mind, we're going to be putting another cutout over top of this. So let me show you, if you weren't here earlier, this, come here, you. This is the piece that I did earlier. And this is what we're going for right here. This, we're going to cut an outline like that. And notice underneath here, I have one of those, this circle like this, and then with the cutout in the middle, and then I put the cutout up here. So that's kind of the idea that I'm going for right now, is that I'm looking at balancing this whole thing. That might go there. I don't know. The nice thing is you can cut your papers and you can audition it and then you glue it down afterwards. Now I am in love with this blue. I don't know what it is about it. It was just a mix of whatever I had on my palette. It's kind of cool. But it is a... Okay, let's start looking at contrast. The nice thing about the red is it's a dark color. And I have a lot of mid-tone colors and light colors here. So at this point, I may want to consider, do I want to stay in the mid-tone? I guess the midtone's okay. So let's just cut a funky line out of here. Maybe we'll cut one of those funky rectangles like I drew in there. So let's just start. The paper I'm working on right now that I did this painting on is newsprint paper. So you can buy newsprint paper. It's acid free, you know, for artists. It's acid free, and it just has this sort of putty color to it, a gray putty color, and it's lovely for using in collage. Love it. Okay, let me see what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to use that same sort of tower theme. Now notice that this is opaque. Nothing's going to show through it. So I'm going to cut, I'm going to start here, and I'm going to sort of cut a wonky rectangle shape, right? So it kind of matches with the wonky rectangles that I have here. So I'm just going to put that one right there for right now. See, the nice thing is you can audition and you can always change your mind later, right? Now I've got, why don't we look at some, okay, besides the music, which I showed you earlier. Ooh, maybe we do want to do a piece of music. Let me see, where is it? Come back here. I'm only getting remnants. Okay, y'all, let me show you my paper pile that's next to me right here. So here's the pile of paper that I'm working with that's next to me. Look at that. All these painted papers that I've made. This is all my own creation here. None of that is purchased paper except for that black on top. This black one, I purchased that one. I showed you that earlier. Okay, so let's, I'm looking for the music. Come on, music, you can do it. Maybe there's a piece in here. This is where I put all my little pieces, my little cutoffs. And, ooh, I'm definitely going to need some black and white. No doubt. I love the black and white. With the black and white, I use rice paper, and then I use sumi ink. So like this. And sumi ink, you see there? And then I just put the sumi ink on an Asian brush like this, and I just go to town. And I just make scribbles like that, and it's perfect for collage. All right, let's see. I'm looking to see if there's any more music in here, which there's not. That's okay. It's okay. I shall find it. Well, let me show you how I color a piece of music. So, okay, where are you, music? Come here. Come back. I love how you find things and then they get swallowed back up into your pile. There you are. There's the music. So this is music ephemera, and the future Mrs. Hawkins. That's interesting. Okay, let's just take this little piece right here so I can demonstrate. So I have this little piece of music, and then usually I'll do these separately, not relating to this, so that I just have a whole bunch of pieces of paper with marks on them. But here I'm going to grab my Artistro markers with the brush end. So what color do I want to put on there? I love this orange. I use it a lot. So you can just draw on here. The nice thing is, even though they're acrylic pens, you can still see through them a little bit. They're not totally transparent, but they are just transparent enough that you can see through it with the music, which is perfect. Okay, so there are some lines. You could just stop there with lines, or I like to do sort of another direction. So let's take this pink right here, and I could do it at an angle, like a swoosh like this. I don't have to do like just a checkerboard. I can do all different types of shapes and things. But the nice thing is you're still going to be able to see that little bit through it, right? Ooh, that's an interesting... Hey, stay home to shop. Welcome in, welcome in. So that's adding a little bit of interest to your ephemera, whether it's, you know, out of a book I have a book right next to me here that's from, what, the 1940s or 50s, and it is old poetry, Viking book of poetry that was falling apart, and so I do the same thing. I take that and I will color these pages as well. So let's put that aside. Ooh, we have a nice looking piece of music here now then. Do we want to cut it or do we want to just, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's the thing. You get to where sometimes you just, what did my dad used to say? Just fish or cut bait. Hey, thank you, Stay Home to Shop. So I'm just going to tear a strip out of this. And I'm going to sort of vary the strip a little bit so it's a line, but not really a line. There we go. So I've got an interesting, and it has some interesting colors in it, right? Just a piece of music. You know what it is when you see it. It's just a piece of music. It sort of fades into the background, doesn't it? So it needs to go over top of something that will help it to show up. There we go. That way, I'm going to move it over. Eee! I still want some of these rings to show underneath here, so maybe this will have to move over that way just a little bit. Okay. Things are happening. It's a little bit bald down here, but I'm not worried about that at the moment. Let's see, let's see. Ooh, okay. I have this really special paper that I bought, you know, in a paper pack. And, ooh, Leanne Phoenix is buried alive in orders over on Whatnot. That's a good thing that's a good problem to have, right? I understand. I've been having a pretty good weekend myself. I'll have a lot of orders to ship tomorrow. Woohoo! Right? Okay, let's do another little triangle, maybe, to mimic the fact that I have a triangle here. So let's just cut a triangle out of this, which is really an interesting looking. So maybe if I put this one here, I can put another little one next to it here. All right. I need to, what I find when I'm working on something like this, I want to keep in mind that, oh, Stay Home to Shop is buried in orders. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I want to look at balance. Stay, right. It was his 5K. Congratulations. You reached your 5K. I'm at just under, I'm at like 1,700 right now. I think, is that what my orders are? But yeah, it's a slog, right? Okay, so I'm feeling like I need a transition here and I need 3 triangles down here. That's kind of what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling right now. So let's see what other triangle I want to put down here. I'm thinking maybe a triangle of this black and white. And maybe this moves sort of up this way. Yee. So there's like a transition here. Is there a transition? Yeah. Ooh, I don't want all of the tips. It's just me. I don't want all the tips of the triangles to be on the same level. I want to bring this one up just a little bit more. There we go. That's mo better. Bring that one over a little bit. Ah, okay. So I think I'm happy with where things are placed right now, just as a start. And because we have some good movement around the page, I can always come back to here and add more later. Okay. I'm going to get these pieces down and then we'll see what else we might need, because I'm feeling like, I don't know, it's looking kind of balanced. You figure it out as you go. So for the moment, I'm going to put my scissors away so they don't get the glue all over them. So like I said, I like to use the matte medium from Pebeo or the matte gel. Both of these are matte gel mediums. This one's a little bit wetter than this one. This one's a little heavier. So you see in the pot there, like if I do that, it doesn't come out. Um, but if I did that with this, it definitely drips out. So I find for the thicker papers, I need the thicker, and for the thinner papers, I need a thinner version of the glue. So this is acrylic gel medium. It's fully archival, awesome stuff. This is what I've always used for my collage. And, you know, some people are like, well, I use a glue stick, whatever. I'm looking for something that is going to give me an archival result. Okay, that's why I use an acrylic medium to do this. Now, you'll notice some things are in the back and some things are on top. So, of course, I always have to start with what's in the background, and the pieces that are in the back. I'm going to pull this one off of here because this one's in the back and this one's in the back, right? And so we're going to start right down here. And I can either use a palette knife or a brush. I'm going to show you using a brush because I think most people have available a brush. And I'm going to do this tipping point triangle here. So I'm putting the matte medium under it and over it. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. I know that it belongs there. So I'm going to move this up a little bit as well. So I've got it under it, and then I'm going to put some over it. Don't worry about the stuff underneath if it smushes. It's fine. It's fine. Does not matter. So I love this translucent paper where you're getting some of the under design shows through. Is awesome. Okay, there we go. So I'm putting it over and under, and then I just have the corner to do right here. There we are. Different companies, by the way, make this kind of gel medium, or the some people love to use the fluid matte medium. So I'm just going to show you, like, by fluid, it means like it is fluid. This is by Sargent, but a lot of people use the Golden brand of fluid matte medium to do their collage as well. So if you're reading a book or an article, you might see they recommend the Golden matte medium. So here I'm going to just sort of capture that. Put it. Remember, this is going to dry clear. This medium will dry clear. So we're just doing this here. Whoa. Ooh, that is so much fun. I love what's underneath this. So I'm glad I'm using the rice paper in this particular area because it's going to, some of that under design is going to show through, and I love that. Okay, that's cool. And then down here, we want to put some more medium here. Let's see here. It can help too if you get your brush wet. I forgot to wet my brush first. But it helps if your brush is wet because that way it helps to move that medium around a little bit more. Maybe instead of straight, I'm going to do it just like that. There we go. Okay. Lovely. So that's, if you look at the progression of the triangles, it goes from flat to a little bit angled to a lot. There's these marks underneath here that are a lot more angled, so it sort of follows a progression. It doesn't have to, but that's from an interest point of where your eye is going to go. I'm always looking at that. Now, I got a little bit of schmutz on my brush right here, so I'm just going to wipe it on my paper towel to be sure that there are no like funky little dots of paint that get everywhere. Now, besides putting my medium directly down on the page, I can also put the medium, let's use this one, the gel medium from Pebeo. I can put some of it, hey there, Lamon, welcome in, welcome in. Put some of it on my palette paper over here, and I can put my paper, I'm turning the paper over, so I can put the paper there and pick up some of the medium on the bottom of my palette knife and very quickly apply it to the back of the paper. I want to be sure it's thick enough that the paper will, because the paper is going to soak up just a little bit of that. Here we go. So, and it's curling. It's curling. That happens with the newsprint. It loves to curl. So I'm going over top of the edge of this, and I have one of those towers right here. So I'm kind of mimicking the tower that we drew earlier. Okay, you can do it. Now I'm coming back with the palette knife here. So when your paper curls, when like the newsprint paper likes to curl, it helps to use a palette knife on it, because that pushes it down and makes it behave. There we go. Okay, what are we doing next? What's next? Okay, underneath we've got this red circle is going to go under. So the red circle is on the rice paper. It's thin, so it'll work fine if I just, okay, I'm going to get my brush wet now, and I'm just going to get a whole bunch of this matte medium and just put it all over my paper here, right in the area where this is going to go down. What is that? There's like a little, I don't know, bead or something there. Okay, so this one goes over the edge of that, goes over the edge of this triangle, but not over this triangle right here, right? Okay, there we go. Well, that's fun. Right over top of it. And you have some interesting scribbles underneath there, right? That's why I like to do the Scribble Scrabble and then put this stuff on top. It's awesome. Okay. These we're going to remove for the moment because they go on top. We know this one is going to go underneath. Now this is a thick paper that you can't see through. And so I'm going to use the thicker Liquitex here to put on the back of it. So I'm using the thicker Liquitex rather than the thinner Pebeo. The thinner Pebeo paint works, medium, I'm sorry, works great with your thinner papers. Okay, so this is going to have to go down on here. Hold on a second. Like that. So I can use my palette knife and just push the paint around it. I could have put paint down here. I mean, I keep calling it paint, but it's medium. I could have put the medium directly on the paper, but with these papers, this particular paper is a thirsty paper. So sometimes it doesn't catch well if I put the gel medium down on the paper, on the artwork. It's better if I can put the gel medium on the back of the piece like I'm doing right now over here, because I can let it soak in a little bit and then come back with more. And then I have plenty of medium on it in order to get that to go down on the paper. So there we go. Lovely. Hey, you know what? I didn't like the fact that this swoosh was covered up so much. So I'm just going to do that. And I could put medium on the top of it, but there's shininess there. Do you see the silver that's there? If I use matte medium on top of the shiny, like this stuff is matte gel. Oops, come back here. If I use matte gel, or if I use matte here of the Pebeo gel, it's going to dampen that shininess. So that's another good reason to just put paint on the back side of a paper like this. And then I'm just pressing it down. And that, if I put the gel, the matte gel on top, I'm going to get rid of that shiny silver. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just doing this so that the shiny silver remains. It's not quite level, is it? There we go. Okay. Yee. Now this piece right here, which is the music, I'm going to, this is where I might start using the, where is it now? Here it is. This insert, right, that I was telling you about, because I'll just put my items on here on top of the insert, and then once again I'm putting the matte medium on the back of the music here, and I'm using the palette knife, but I could also just as easily use the brush. There we go. And then move this out of the way. Ooh, okay, I like that. I like that it's part on and part off. Fabulous. There we go. I just love my palette knife for this process because it helps me to push everything down, especially when you're working with textured papers and things. I just find the thicker papers, especially the palette knife, really helps a lot. Oh, there we go. Nice. Now, by doing that and putting that, positioning that right where I did, I'm maintaining these scribbles that I did underneath, so you can still see them. By the time I'm done, you may not see them, but right now at this point, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, I likey. And then what else do we have over here? Maybe I'll put this here and not use this one at the moment, this red circle that I cut out of there. Okay, let's just use the balance. This is that very filmy paper. So I'm just going to put some exactly where it's going to be. I'll put some of this on here. This is the Pebeo one that's a little bit thinner because I have a thinner paper here. And I'm just going to bring that up a little bit like that. I love this. This is called mulberry paper. And I love the mulberry paper because you can see through it pretty nicely. Okay, let's do that. There we go. All right, that's fun. So I have an initial layer of, there's an initial layer of collage down there. Now, of course, you can just keep going and going and going, right? And put more and more and more collage down. But for right now, we're going to let this dry for a minute, and we are going to cut out our outline shape. We might as well do a vase like I have the other one. So if you see here, this is not drawn on. Last week when I did the collage workshop with y'all, we actually we created a collage in the background, and then we drew the fish on there with ink, right? Now this week what we're doing is we're creating a background collage. This week though, we're doing the Scribble Scrabble in the background to give us an interesting background. And then this is actually a cutout. It's not a drawing. And so I'm going to show you how we make the cutout right now. And the inspiration for the cutout was the book from last week called Collage du Jour. So here's the Collage du Jour book. And back in the back here, I took my little thing out of there that was telling me where it was. So this is a project from the Collage du Jour book by Lucy Duclos. And you can see here all of these cut shapes. And she shows you how you just take your paper and then you fold them and then you cut them to get these really nice vase shapes. And then, of course, you can put all kinds of drawings over top of it. But after that, she said she loves to create these silhouettes of whatever shape it is, in this case, the vase, but she loves to create the silhouettes that she then goes and adds into her artworks. And so right now, we're going to create a silhouette. I'm going to show you how you create a silhouette. All right. So I'm actually going to move this aside and let it dry so that way you can focus on the silhouette. This paper that I'm using is the Artisa. I'll show you. Yeah, come here, you. It's the Artisa sketch pad in black. And this happens to be 9 by 12. They have different sizes, but Really nice. I like working on it with shimmer, different shimmer types of paints, but I tore a sheet out of it. It's nice because it's acid free, it's artist grade. It's also uh, like the perfect thickness. It's not too thick, but yet it's not too thin. Let me see if it tells us on here what the weight of the paper is. Nope, it doesn't. It just says it's 9 by 12. Oh, yes, it does. Right there, 90 pounds. So it's perfect. Perfect. Love it. And you can see this is where I cut the other one out of it. So what we're going to do, let's see. I don't want something too big. I want something a little smaller. So we're going to do the cutting here. Let's just cut right along here to start. We already have the beginnings of a shape of some sort. Let's see. No, you know what? I'm going to show you starting with the, oh, look at that. Where did that come from? I've got a bunch of gel medium on there. Let me just wipe it like this. It won't matter. We'll work from this side. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. It does have, you can see here, there's a little perforation along the edge, which is perfect. So I can take that off of there easily and get a nice edge. Ooh, okay, where's that piece of paper that I just took off of there? Let me see. Do I have it? Yeah. Believe it or not, I love to save these and then put them down into my collages because they have this really interesting look to them, right? So that's going in the little paper bin over here. Okay, so we just have a blank piece of black paper. We're going to start down here. Now I'm bearing in mind that I'm going to cut a silhouette out of it. So I don't want everything to be too narrow. I want to have enough width on things that I can cut the silhouette out of it. So I'm just going to start here, and maybe I'll have a really fat pot like this. Like that. I'm making a flower pot. And then maybe it comes up with an interesting sort of skinny top to it. And then a flare, like a flange here. But I need to make the flange big enough that I can cut. Okay. So now, that's a half of the vase, right? Right there. So now I'm going to fold it in half. Wherever I want to fold it in half for however wide or big I want it to be. So let's say I'm taking the part that sticks out the most and I'm going all the way to the edge. And then I'm making sure that down here that this is flush, right? It's flat. I mean, you don't have to, but that's what I look at. And then I also want this side over here. Ta-da! Okay, so now I've folded it in half, right? Like that. And now I just come in here. I'm actually going to use my detail scissors for this so I get it right. And I'm going to cut right along the outside, right along where the other lines were, right? So this is how you get your mirror image. Let's just cut this like this. Nice. Like that. And then we're going to come around here. Make sure that that's nice and rounded. And bring it down here. So there's not a lot of waste when you do this, right? Of the black paper. There's just that little bit that was on the edge there. Okay, so that is our outline from the half fold. Now when we open it, ta-da, there's our vase. Okay. And I needed to make sure I had plenty of straight here because I'm now going to cut a silhouette out of it, right? So to cut the silhouette, I'm not going to cut the silhouette with it open. I'm going to close it back up like this. And now I'm going to cut my silhouette. So you determine how thick or how thin you want the silhouette here. So let's say I want to pretty significant silhouette there. So I'm cutting right to where the base is there. And then I'm going to start the curve like that. And then you don't have to be too precise. I like having my little bitty scissors so I can be a little more precise. And then I'm going to come around here. And I'm going to create that top. Oh my gosh! Okay, y'all. This is so much fun. So now I've got a smaller version of the vase. And, oh, oops, I didn't do it right. I was supposed to go across, do it around enough and go across the top. But that's okay. We'll just draw it in. Or maybe we don't care. We'll put something going out of the top. Okay, so instead of ending by going up, you need to, again, come around and back across if you want to get the part that connects it together. But there we have the outline of a vase. Isn't that fun? We can use this or we can use this. So let's take a look at our composition. I like using the one that's got the big hole in it, because when you do Scribble Scrabble in the background or you have really pretty papers, it can just create a really interesting effect. Maybe I do it over this way. Let's see. How far down do I want it to go? I may still want the triangle to show there. So that's the cool thing with this, is you've got a lot of interesting stuff showing through there. Oops, I didn't close this. Let me bring it up a little further so you can see it a little bit better. I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, wait a minute. You can't see it that clearly. Okay, there we go. So that is one place we could put it. I could bring it down just a little bit more. Right there. If I want to have like a spray of flowers, I can bring it down even just a little bit more. If I want to have a spray of flowers coming out, the only problem is the more I bring it down, the more I lose the tip of this triangle right here. So maybe I want to bring it up just enough so that the tip of the triangle still shows. Now, before I glue it down, I'm going to take a mat. So I always have a mat in the studio so I can put a mat around it and get a feel for positioning, right? So let's position that over there. So I'm looking at I begin to look at the composition for what's it going to look like in the mat as a finished piece. And then based on that, I can make some decisions. Maybe I move this down just a little bit, and then I can bring this down, and I can still see the tip of the triangle right there. Bring it over. Maybe that's where I want it then, right there. Yee. Like that. Maybe I do that, or do I want to bring it up just a little bit more? I feel like I want, and maybe I bring it over just a little bit more this way. So that's one option. The beautiful thing is, at this point, I can keep moving it around, and then I could even put it directly in the center, right? There's nothing wrong with putting it directly in the center as opposed to putting it off to one side or the other. That's kind of fun also right there. Let's take a look at that with the mat right there. That looks interesting. Most of the time when I'm designing, I'm putting something on the right or the left, you know. So let's bring it over here and see what that does for it. That is, I think I'm happier with it over here. What do y'all think? I'm watching your comments. So if you have a preference as to where it should go, you let me know. Okay. So, when I put it there, this seems very lonely over here because I have a lot going on over here. So I feel like this is more, makes more sense. Let's move it over a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to put it right there. There we go. So it helps to have a mat to work with. All right. Now that I've decided where I want it, this paper is a little bit thicker. Hey, Mad Monkey Art, welcome in, welcome in. I'm sharing a collage painting today. And you know what? Let me do this, because what if, I know where I want that if I want that one there. What if I just put this one here? Nope, I lose too much by putting that one there. Okay, I love these open silhouettes like this. Okay, let's just bring her down just a little bit. And then make sure that's straight across the bottom. And now I'm holding my fingers on it. And this is the Liquitex matte gel. So let's get my palette knife here. And I'm going to start gluing this down. So I'm just putting the matte gel down on the paper to start. And then making sure that this is lined up with the bottom the way I want it. And then I can just put my matte medium right over top of it. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, so now I've begun the process of putting it down where I want it. And here we go. I'm just putting this matte gel medium underneath it and then laying it down. It doesn't matter if the matte gel medium gets it on other places in your composition, that's fine. We've already activated everything that needs to be activated with water. Okay, there we go. I love this black because it doesn't matter if a little bit of the other color gets on there, right? It's not going to matter. There we go. So we've got the 1/2 there. Nice, lovely. Lovely, lovely. There's 1/2 of the vase. Let's get the other half here. I could have taken the vase shape and put it down on my, on this, right, newspaper insert, and wet the whole, get the whole back of it covered in matte medium, and then put it down on the paper. But once I get my positioning, I'm okay with doing this little bit at a time, putting it down section by section. I'm okay with that. Okay, so the paper I'm going over top of right now is textured, so I need to be sure there's plenty of matte medium on there so that it goes right down on that textured surface. Nice. There we go. Fabulous. And then I'm going to put some more here, just so it has somewhere to, something to grip onto. Yay. There we go. There's the other side. And because this paper, this black paper, is a little bit thicker, right? It's the 90 pound. It's not a filmy paper like this or this. I like using the palette knife to put it down. If you use a brush to put it down, you're going to need a relatively stiff brush. Okay, but that's why I like to use the palette knife for this little bit stiffer papers. Okay, woo, it's down. Yay. Awesome. Love that. Thank you. Thank you. So now at this point, I could draw stems, right? I can use acrylic markers and draw on it to create my stems, or I can use other papers in order to create the stems. What I did in the sample for tonight's class is that I cut black and white paper here that I had made. So this is rice paper, and I created the stems, and then I added some funky flowers on top of there. So I think, let me see what I have here. I have some really pretty greens. These are just papers that I have painted. This is a nice one right here, kind of a light green. And then I've got this kind of emerald green. Let's see. The nice thing about having these papers is that I can audition them, right? Okay, that's not a good one right there. But I have this whole pile of painted papers next to me. Ooh, these two are nice. Maybe I'll stick with these. Let's see. So I've got, that's cool. That's like a chartreuse, right? And then this is a little bit darker. So maybe I'll do the stems in this. And then I can do some leaves in, oh no, what about a stem in that? Nope, it's like too light. It's getting lost. We don't want our stems to get lost, right? Okay, I like the chartreuse. So let's just do a little bit of cutting here. And cut some, and it can go like this, right? Because the stem will go like that. And then let's do it a little bit thicker at the bottom. And then come up. And maybe we have a stem that goes off to one side and up like this. So I'm just sort of imagining, right? Let me just sort of do this. So I'm going to end up cutting a small piece out of there too. Okay, so that's one. Let's see how that looks. I can go that way, right? Across there. That'd be kind of fun. So what I'm looking at is right now I'm just creating a stem. I'm not creating the actual flower. I'm just creating a stem. So let's do this. Nice. Oh, isn't that fun? Oh, I don't like that there's no paint on the end of there. So we've got this one that comes out that way, right? That's fun. Lovely. And then they're a little bit long, but it doesn't matter. I can cut flowers and put them wherever I want there. Like I still have this red from earlier that I might put up here if I have another stem coming out there, right? So let's start with this one, and then what about another one? Let's do another one with a little bit darker green, right? So we'll just do another one that kind of comes out. So we've got a slight curve in that direction. So I'm going to just slightly curve it over here in this direction. Over this. And then I'm looking at it, that's a little bit too much of a curve, but that's okay. I will figure that out when we get a little bit closer. I'm just cutting. There we go. Let's see what we got. But that's why it helps to make multiple sheets of similar colors, right? So these are both green and they're similar, but they're not the same. Different values, lighter, darker, and even darker, right? That's where it helps to do that. Okay, so then we have this one, kind of goes like that. What I want to do here is maybe bring this one, maybe bring this one over this way just a little bit more, like that. And bring this one a little bit more toward the center, like that. Okay, maybe like that. That looks fine for right now. You know what? I'm going to move this one over a little bit because I'm going to put a flower here, but I'm going to put a leaf going off of there. So let me I'm just looking at my different colors here that I have next to me. Ooh, Okay, what is that? Nope, that's not a good one. Leaf color, leaf color. That's kind of interesting. Emerald right there, right? Should I go for emerald? Nope, I'm going to go for another green. Okay. So you get to see the exact process that I go through here. There's some really cool, like it was thick and it got all crackly there. So maybe I'll use that as my, well, nope, it's not going to work. That's okay. That's okay. I'm cutting another, sort of mirroring the last piece right there. So I can cut a leaf. So I'm cutting a leaf that just sort of comes off of there. Ooh, that's going kind of far there. So that one is just going to be a leaf. This one's going to be a stem for a flower. So let me just bring this over just a little bit more like that. Okay, cool. Cool, cool. So that is coming over too far. The curve is a little too far. Let me fix that by doing this. I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to increase the curve just a little bit, but have it end just a little bit sooner. Let's try that. So yes, it's a leaf, but it's going to end over here and the flower is going to be up here. There we go. That works. Okay. So now I've got a couple of stems and you can see I've got them stacked 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to start by this one on the bottom here. And I need to glue that down. So this is a thinner paper. This is on newsprint. So I'm going to use a brush and some of this. I could use either the Pebeo or this one. It would both work on here. So I'm just, again, gluing down, putting it down there. And then, so I could either use the brush or I could use the palette knife. So here we go. Isn't that fun? Oh, collage is fabulous. Fabulous in all its different ways. There's so many different types of collage that you can do. And this is actually mixed media because before we did the collage, we used several other media to create the background, right? So is there enough there to do that? Yes. So we've got one swooping branch here. Let's get this other one going. And I'm just, if you weren't here earlier, I'm using the matte gel medium from Liquitex right now. That's one of my favorite ones. Okay. No, I need more underneath here. Come on, girl. You can do it. You can do it. Get underneath there. Ooh. Okay, cool. So now we've got the stem there that we can put flowers on the end. And then now we can draw the flowers. We can cut the flowers. They're just all different ways we can do this. Which one is next? This one is next. So this one we're going to put in the pot right here. Let's see where I want that flower to go. All right. So we'll just begin here. I go through lots of medium, y'all. You can see, right? Eat. Lots and lots of gel medium. I'm going to have to order some more of this. I have lots of medium here, though. I do have lots of medium. I'm almost done with this particular pot. They're not expensive, and you get a lot of use out of it. Okay. You come here, like this. Nice. Why are you wrinkly? Okay, let's get a little bit more of that going right there. Fab, almost done. with that. And right here. Nice. Okay, fantastic. And now we want to put the leaf on. So I need to figure out where I want the leaf to go. I actually want to bring the leaf down just a little bit, so I'm going to cut or tear a little bit off the bottom here so I can get it to go where I want it to go. Okay, cool. Like that. Let's put some medium here. Not too much. Come on now. Oof. That's where having a palette knife helps, because you can scrape up the excess medium right there. And I just find it is very efficient to use the palette knife. Okay. Whoop. That's nice. We got her going there. Let's do some more here. And bring you down there. And we'll put just a little bit more up here. There we are. Nice. Okay. So now I've got some stems going. Those were fun. That's why you make those big sheets of color, because you just never know what you're going to need them for, right? I'm pushing everything down with my palette knife now, just to make sure we're good. Ooh, I got a little bit of lifting here because I didn't put enough on there. So now I've got it down. A little bit of lifting there. Nope, that looks pretty good. Okay, cool. We're good. So as I'm using this, I close it up when I'm not using it so that I can have, it will stay as fresh as it can. Also, periodically, what I do, if I have had it open for a while, is I just take a spray bottle of water and I spray a little bit of water on top, because this gel medium is water-based acrylic paint, or acrylic medium. So I can just do that. And then I've got the, that water will help to keep it moist, right? Okay, that's fun. Let's take a look at next. What sort of flowers are we going to put up here in the painting? So before, I had cut this little red piece. I had cut the red piece out of the center of there, and I can keep it round like this and then draw around it or put another piece of paper over it to create a flower. And that gives us a little bit of red here, a little bit of red here, a little bit of red here. So that helps with the whole composition, I think, right there. So again, we're back to auditioning paper. Oh, and when you want to clean off your palette knife, what I like about the palette knife is it's super easy to just wipe it clean like that. And with the brush, I just put it in my bucket of water until I'm ready to use it again. Okay, awesome. Let's see, what else do we want for flowers? I like that red one over there. Let's look at some paper that I've done drawing on. So I've got this, or that has various designs on it, right? So this blue one, I have a little bit of blue over here and a little bit of turquoise over here. Maybe I want to cut something out with the blue. And this is just a marker that I've gone in on top of there. So let me take, this is just a Posca pen. And this is, it has the little marble in it. So you do have to shake it and then pump the tip to get the paint started. But let me just move this out of the way for a moment to show you this. This is, I call it a quilter's crazy quilt. And so you're just going to do curves, wonky curves, back on itself like this. Usually I don't cross over, but sometimes I will. It's up to you to just try different and I like to do little loop-de-loops sometimes. It's very meditative though, and the cool thing is you can do this ahead of time, and then you have these really neat papers with beautiful designs on them to use later. So let me just finish up this little area right here. So there's an area of crazy quilt design on there, and that's using the white Posca pen. But you do have to shake it real well and pump it to be sure that that paint is flowing. So it's acrylic paint, and that'll dry nice and permanent on there. So I'm thinking a little bit of like a pop of blue would be good for this piece. So but what shape? Do I just want to do it as a round, or do I want to cut it into a shape? I think I'll start this with a round here, because I can always, before it's glued down, I can always make a different decision, right? Maybe I'll sort of do it like that, and then I can cut it. But let's audition it. See, it's not going to go down yet. That's kind of fun. I like that there's heavy darkness over here and a little bit of blue, and then we have a little bit of blue over here. But at the same time, it's audition time with the mat. So as I had mentioned to you before, you put the mat down, you sort of see what see what the composition is looking like. Okay. All right, all right. That looks interesting. I may want to move this bold one over to here. Right? I think that's better balance if I move it over to there. Okay, and I also want to create a little shape out of this at the top. So I'm going to sort of give it a couple of little, I don't want the big scissors, I want the little scissors. But I'm going to come up here and I'm going to sort of give it some petals at the top. Like this. I'm using my fussy cut scissors to do this. Okay, that's kind of fun, right? You get a little flower design out of that. And so I'm thinking of putting that right there. Right? That looks good. Actually, I think I'll bring it down just a little bit. There we go. I think that one will end up there. And then what am I going to put over here? Maybe I'll put a bud, because maybe I'll put a little bud over there. But what color? What color? What color? We have pink in there. Ugh. This is always the part where I'm like, what am I doing? What am I going to do here? I want to put another leaf in there using this really fun paper that I made on the gel press. Ooh, okay, I have this gorgeous, gorgeous orange from the gel press. This was just picking up leftover paint. There's like a little bit of orange over here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make several little rounds and do several little rounds at the end there. Let's try that. And just using this. So why don't I just cut out a piece like this that I can work with to cut those rounds out of. How about that? Boop. That way I can put this piece away. And I like when the paint comes off of the gel press because it has a very organic look to it. Really cool. And this actually has a little bit of blue. There's a little bit of blue underneath there, and then the orange, so that might work really well with this. Now it's time to move from the big scissors to the little scissors. So let's just, let's see. I want to cut a kind of a bud. Ooh, I know. I like cutting buds so I'm just sort of cutting a circle out of there. But then I'm going to cut part of it off like this. Like this. So I've got the shape of the bud, but I'm going to do the bud in a couple of pieces here. Okay, so you put part of the bud there. Oop, come back here. I'm going to put part of the bud there, and then I'm going to put the other part of the bud like that. I like to do them compound in multiple pieces like that. So there's one bud. I want to make sure this goes up higher than that. I think this one needs to go up higher than this one too. Okay, so that's higher than that. This one I think I'll bring down a little bit more, like that. Okay, so now I'm going to just create some little round ones for down the stem there. Maybe. Let's cut, freeform cut some little circles, and they can be little ellipses, whatever. They can be funky, right? I just think it'd be fun to put several of them down this stem right here. So let's do this right here and have it be just a little bit of an oval like this, and come back in there. There we go, like that. Oh, that's fun. The orange looks good against there. Okay, now bear in mind also, as you're doing this, that you can draw around these after they are glued down. So you're gluing them down, and then you're going to draw and paint around them, potentially. So give yourself a little bit of space in between them. Like maybe that one goes there, because then I can come in here and I can draw around those. There's a little separation there. Okay, let's do another circle right here. It looks like there's enough. That's why you keep all those little pieces, so that you can cut these little pieces off of there and use them. Now I'm starting to lose the orange because of what's back behind here. So if I want it to show up, it has to be a more significant, a larger piece. So let's go just a little bit larger here. There we go, like that. So if it's larger, it'll show up just a little bit better. Plus, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline them once they're glued down. Let's go to the other side over here so I can get a nice loop-de-loop on this side as well. There we go. So that one sort of goes there. Nice. Those are fun. Let's bring that down just a little bit more. I think that's enough, putting 5 there. So that's 5, 6, 7. That looks good. This one, what I want to do is I want to put something on the inside of there. So let's do this. Let me find a yellow. I think I have a yellow something here. Ooh, yeah, that won't show up against there. I need something that's much lighter than that. Okay, what I could do is I have these sheets of artwork that I've made in the past. So I take artwork that I've done and I make prints of them, and then I can cut them out and use them in other artworks, right? It's all my art. And if I'm doing collage, I find it's a lot of fun to cut up designs that you've already made and put them into your collage. So this one has some of the same colors as the other things going on in the painting. So let's see how that looks. That goes on the inside of there. Okay, that's interesting. I like it. I like it. But instead of putting it in the center, I think I'll put it down toward the bottom like that. So toward the bottom, not right in the center. I like it. All right, we're getting somewhere. Let me go ahead then, and so this is the audition process where I sit here and I decide what am I going to put where, what's the exact location of everything. That could actually go up even a little bit higher. Let me look at this. Keep referring back to my mat here so that I can decide, is that good placement? Where's my final going to be? Lovely, like that. This one needs to be over this way just a little bit further. There we go. Because this one is sticking out kind of far. So I think I'm going to bring this in just a little bit so it's not sticking out quite so far. There we go. I like that. Okay. That's better. More better. So I'm looking at where are the edges of the paper and how's the design going. And does it make sense? Yep. Okay. So that's where I want things then. Yay. That always helps. Hey there, Lacey Marie. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing a collage workshop today. Next Saturday is World Collage Day. So this is a, last week and this week, I'm teaching a collage class. In honor of that, let's go ahead and glue these down. I'm going to use my brush. So let's get some of the water out of there. And these are thin papers. So I'm going to go back to the Pebeo matte medium here. Won't take a lot. And then because the papers are thinner. So this one I need to put the red down first before I put the other one on top. So let's just get that going. So it's glue under and glue over. Hey, here we go. That's cool. That's cool. Neato. Now I'm noticing it's wrinkling a little bit, so now I'm coming in with my palette knife to see if I can smooth that out a little bit. There we go. Nice. Fabulous. Let's take this other little piece that's going to go on there. And this is a piece that's just printed on printer paper, but it's printed with archival inks on my Epson printer. I have an Epson Echo Tank. And I love that the inks that come out of there, the images that come out of there are archival so that I can use them in my artwork like this. Okay, let's put that right there for something fun. Also, the nice thing about the Epson inks is that they don't run. So back in the day when I had a big studio, I had two printers. I had an Epson printer and an HP printer because I discovered when I was using the HP printer that the inks run. When you are doing this kind of work, they're not stable. And that was annoying. So I had to get myself an Epson printer so that I could be sure that my inks wouldn't run when I was using them in my collages. So this, I'm going to be putting the medium on the back of the paper. So loading it up here on the back just by putting it over my newspaper insert. And then let's position it where it needs to go. Just above there. Nice. Fabulous. Push that down. Love it. You see how I'm using a wet medium on top of the white acrylic marker that we used, but the acrylic marker is now dry, so the acrylic paint won't run. It's fabulous. Okay, oops, I need a little bit more of that. let's do this. So normally when I'm using this to do a piece, I just put a little bit of the matte medium right there on this newspapery thing, and then pull these over like this, and then just do one at a time. This is also printed on just printer. It's painted on printer paper, actually. There we go. So the printer paper will work for your collage materials. And then let's take this one, just little pieces. Perfect. I think if you try the method here with the palette knife, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why did I ever use brushes? Because it really is nice to be able to use the palette knife for especially for pushing down on your papers when you do collage. Okay, there we go. That one goes right there. You can do it. Come on. Go down right there. There we go. Boop. And then this one right here. There's right where I just did that, there was a little bit of medium left on there. That's another reason why I really like using the palette knife, is I save the medium, the way that I use the medium. I can scrape that little bit that's left on there and then use right there. I'm picking up that little bit that was on there, and it's enough to do this one. Right? So I waste less when I'm using the palette knife. There we go. And then pick up some there, a little bit more here. Oops, let's turn you over. Fabulous. And you can use the tip of your palette knife to lift it up with. Fantastic. Okay, there we go. Now I have some left here, and it wasn't in a pot like this. I love a pot because you can take it and do this and just put it right back in the pot, right? But I'm going to show you what I do to put it back in the tube. But this only works with a plastic tube. So if you have a plastic tube like this, you have to press it or shake it so that the medium moves down. And this one has a nice top on it here. And then it's plastic, so I can squeeze air out of it. So I'm squeezing air. Now it's actually, you can see the medium. And I take my palette knife and I'm letting the air out. So I'm loosening my grip as I do this. And that way it puts the medium back in. I do this with paint too. Hey there, his queen forever. Welcome in over on Whatnot. There we go. So this way I don't lose any of the, I save it. There we go. Nice. So I didn't lose that little bit of matte medium, right? I was able to put it back in, but that only works with the plastic tubes. Metal tube, it won't work. Okay. So now we've got a bouquet of flowers here, and I need to, I usually let this rest for a few minutes so that the paint can dry, right? And then I come back in, and sometimes I quiet areas. So let me see if I have my white on the table right here. Let me see. Let's use some of this white ink. So I have a permanent white ink right here by Diatramentis. This is document ink. So sometimes what I like to do is quiet, like there's a lot going on here, right? And where do I want your attention? I want your attention on the flowers. So I'm going to take a little bit of this document white, or you can use, I'm looking here on the desk for my my golden fluid acrylic white. Is that it? No, it's a different medium. Okay, well, I'm not, oh, there it is. Is it hiding on me? Yes. Okay, so this is the golden titanium white high flow acrylics. So either an ink like this that's very fluid, or the very fluid golden high flow titanium white. Love this stuff. And so actually, since I found it, I'm going to use this. This is the high flow white. And I'm going to use a brush. Now I can color it if I wanted to put a color on it. What if I put a little bit of this pink color in with it? I don't know. It happens to be on the table, so I'm just going to put a tiny bit of pink right here. And then I'm going to add a bunch of the white group. So let me make sure you can see that. And then I'm going to use my palette knife and I'm going to mix those two together so I just have like a blush of pink in my white. The other color I like to use is titanium buff. So it's kind of a creamy color. But this one right here just has a hint of pink in it. It's not fully white. And so I'm going to use my brush and I am just going to quiet some areas, right? So that's, you can do that with acrylic paint. And it's nice and thin. That's the beautiful thing about the high flow, is it's super thin, so you're still going to be able to see through it. You're going to be able to see some of what's underneath there. So why don't I, this is always the stage where I'm like, where do I want to put it? I don't want to cover up too much. I just want to do a little bit here. And actually when it dries, it gets a little bit lighter. So I'm just sort of bringing it. I want to quiet a little bit of this area here. It's fine, it's fine. Just a little bit, sort of bring it together, right? Soften the edges with your fingers because it's just acrylic paint. There we go. Get fingers in there. Soften those edges. So now what I'm doing is I'm pushing the design that's like so crazy toward the back. Toward the back. Let me bring this down. I'm just going to do this around here a little bit. Get a little bit of it on there. There we go. Soften it. Soften the edges. Right? I want to bring attention to what is here. And I want to push the rest of this back, but not too much. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Soft, soft, soft. Right? So then that begins to pop. And let's do it around this one right here as well, because there are some strong colors in the background there. I just want to soften this and bring more attention. Now you're still going to be able to see through it, like you see the music through it and everything, but it's just going to sort of taper that a little bit and soften it a little bit so that your attention is more on the design elements, in this case the buds and the flowers. Okay, so a little bit more, but you definitely want to get yourself either a white ink or a permanent ink. The Diatramentis I showed you as a permanent ink, or some of this golden high flow acrylic. I'll put a link to it in the description of the video, so don't worry, you can just look down there to find it. Okay, here we go, a little bit more here. A little bit goes a long way, as you can see, of this, but soften, soften, soften. I'm not losing the design underneath, I'm just pushing it back a little bit, pushing it back one layer. Okay, so let's just do a little bit more up here, sort of pushing it. And I want to push it a little bit more here. Oop, I don't want to get it on the black. I like the super duper dark black that's there. I like that. Okay, a little bit more around here so that this will show up more. Right, I want that to show up more. Nice. There we go. I don't know that I want to put it over that red because I really like the red, but I might want to put it over some of what's inside the red so that the red just shows up just a little bit more. There we go. So now if you look at those flowers, we've still got all that craziness going on in the background, but it's pushed to the back. It's not taking center stage. And let me put some on the inside of here as well to sort of quiet that. It's still there, but I'm quieting it a little bit without affecting the red, right? I'm taking what's inside there and pushing it back, and now that brings the red forward. Yay. Okay. What else? What else? I'm thinking maybe this over here is competing as well. So I'm just going to put a little bit over in this area and soften, soften, soften. So it's still there, but it's not like drawing your attention like crazy. Now I also want to put some right in here because I want to, there's a lot of white paper there, and I actually want to have a little more attention, a little more color over here. And there's a slight pink, right, in the white that I did. And so let's balance that with a little bit more of the pink over here. There we go. Ooh. Okay, I like you, like you. Well, you know what's going to happen now is I'm just gonna feel like I've got to put it all the way around here and soften, soften. And that's okay. I still have plenty of color, plenty of like movement, right? With all this other stuff, even though I'm softening these edges. I'm putting a little bit of pink over it. It's okay. It's all right. Let's bring some of the pink down here. So I've got it coming off the edge of the page. And bringing it across here. Soften it. Cool. Now what that does is it's bringing more attention to this area and these and this red circle right here. Let's soften this just a little bit more right here. And I could walk away, go have lunch, come back and be like, oh, I need to soften this a little bit more and that a little bit more, right? You can just keep working on it until you feel like the part of the design that you want to have sticking out is more prominent. Okay, that helped a lot with this over here. Now I'm seeing just a little, I need to go inside here just a little bit more. Just a little bit right there. So that shows better. Okay, coolio. I likey likey. I like that a lot. I'm still looking all around, seeing where else. As it dries, it's going to get lighter, meaning that more is going to show through. And so you may be like, too much is showing through now once it's dried, and you need to go back in and do some more cover up. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. I'm like, oh, okay, a lot more is showing through. I need to come back in, and I'm unifying the whole thing. There we go. Okay, awesome. Then that way this shows up and these show up and a few of the elements here show up more dramatically. Okay, nice. This I'm just going to put right back in the water. Let me see. That pink right there, I'm feeling like that needs just a little bit more of the wash around here. There we go. So you can see it there, but there's just a little bit more of a wash there. Okay, cool. Like it, like it. All right. So this is wet over here because I was using the fluid acrylic. So I'm just going to wipe up the paint so that it doesn't end up getting everywhere, which is what always happens. So now we can focus on using our acrylic markers and our fine liners to define some of these shapes and actually to add some more shapes to it as well. Now I'm just cleaning off my palette knife that I mixed that pink with. And so now if you get dried paint on your palette knife, you just take another palette knife and you're able to scrape that dried paint right off of there. So I do that all the time. I'm constantly having to scrape paint off of my palette knives. Usually what I'll do is for an offset palette knife, which comes out and goes down like that, I put the palette knife on the edge of the table, and then I can, or just up like this, and then I can use the other palette knife to take the dried paint right off of it. Yay! Okay, there we go. So that's that far. Now what I want to do is go around these and make the flowers a little more, bring a little more attention to them. So this one right here, I'm thinking, I love this. This is the Artistro acrylic marker again. I do have the Pebeo acrylic markers as well. So like I have this, the same bright pink, right, with the Pebeo marker. But I think I'm going to let the bright pink that's in the background stay. And this, let's use the Artistro one. And what I want to do is just put some, see, they're not showing up very much. That's okay. I'm going to fix that in just a second. So I'm just putting some petals on the flower like this. So you don't have to just leave the, you don't have to leave the circly thing there. You can get creative and add some other petals to it like this. And so we're just doing this, right? And then I think I'm going to have to fill them in with something, right? This is just, don't be afraid to use your own hand, right? So that it's very organic looking. Now that is the pink, but I think I'm going to go inside the pink with some more red. So to sort of define these petals just a little bit. I'm not worried about filling the whole thing in. I've got some pink, I've got some red. Now here I want to go around that end of the leaf that I put up there. So I'm actually going around the leaf like this. Fun. Around the leaf and around the leaf. This is just the kind of artwork that I'm doing here. You might consider it, it might be called primitive or childish. And I love that. That's kind of the thing that Picasso did, right? He just said, the heck with it. You know, I spent years learning the classics and then I went off on my own direction. Then he learned to be a child again. Okay, fun. Fun, 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 fun. Okay, this is awesome. I'm loving this. Let's bring this one up just a little bit more. Oh, that makes me very happy. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, cool. And then now I have the bright pink there, but the bright pink is not showing up very well. So I have this sort of raspberry color. I got the 24 set of the Artistro markers. They even have a gold and silver, which is awesome, in the 24 set. So this one's a little bit darker. So I'm just going to bring the little bit darker one around the outside, just so I get a couple of variations to the shape. So I've got a light pink, I've got a raspberry, and I have a red. Nice. And I'm not worrying, is it perfect or not? I'm not into perfection here. It's just expression. I say expression, not perfection. There we go. Let's express ourselves and have some fun here. There we go. The next one, come up and around. Perfect. Oh, that's even better. Even better. So this flower that sort of wasn't taking up a lot of space on the picture plane is now like becoming center stage, right? I love that. Okay. Let's do this. Partly because I went in and I softened that background, so now that's making the flower take center stage. There we go. That works better in this area over top of the pink. See, I was losing the edge of the petal here because it was on pink paper, and so that's why I felt like I needed to come in with something a little bit darker, y'all. A little bit darker to define those petals. Wow. Wow. Lovely. Okay, that one's taken over. She just took over. Hello, hello. All right, this one, I'm just going to put a little bit of, which blue? Which blue? I have a dark blue. Ooh, maybe a little bit of purple. Let's look at the purple. I have a light purple and a dark purple. Let's start with the light purple. I usually like to start with the lighter color, and then if I want to move to a darker color because it's not enough, I can do that. So here is the light purple. And I'm just going to bring the light purple and we'll see. Yeah, see, it's fading into the background. You can't really see the light purple, but that's okay. We've got light purple, and then what are we going to do? We're going to put dark purple around the outside of it. There we go. So we're putting it. I was looking, I lifted my arm up because I wanted to make sure there was nothing down here that was wet that I was going to end up putting my hand in, okay? So I'm going to sort of go wonky with this one and sort of follow along and go over top of and not be straight. Why? Just for the heck of it. Okay, and then I'm going to take a navy blue and go back over it with the navy blue. Why not? And go more straight with the navy blue. Nice. Okay, so that just sort of gives that flower a little bit of extra oomph right there. Now with these over here, I probably, just by looking at it, I probably need to go over them with a red, because if I try to use an orange, let's see, what about the Pebeo oranges? I have lots of Pebeo paints here. This is light orange. Let me see what other oranges I have here. See, that one is going to fade into the background. That's why I'm thinking maybe the lighter orange. Let's try the lighter orange and see what happens. It may work, it may not. The nice thing about acrylic is if you don't like it, you can just paint right over top of it. Okay, so this is a pump marker. You heard me shaking the little ball there. Okay, so the paint is beginning to flow. Woo, the paint's flowing all right. It's flowing a lot. So let's just come around here. And I'm trying not to be perfect. I'm leaving little dots there. Okay, that's kind of interesting. It's not really showing up very well. I'll probably have to go over top of it with the red, right? So let me just bring these in here with the orange, like that. Yeah, this color of orange is light and the background is light. So we're kind of losing it. Losing it. Okay, that's what I thought might happen. it's okay because I like to say it's just another layer. You know what I can do though? I can put some orange inside here. That would be fun. So let's just take some of that orange because the orange doesn't exist anywhere else except a tiny bit right here. So I am going to just bring the orange here and do a couple of concentric circles in here. Not perfect. They're not all touching. Like the edges are broken up, but that's okay. Cool. That way there's a little orange here and a little orange here. That means I probably need to have a little bit of orange over here somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. I may decide to come back to there later. Okay, let's go back to the red again, which is okay. It's okay to balance your red. We'll have red here, red here, red here. That's fine. That's a good like triangle, right? Because we have triangles down here. So let me get the red. This is the brush tip. And just making sure I'm not putting my hand down where it's wet, right? And let's just go around the outside here to really bring attention to that. When you put the dark color around the outside, it brings attention to the light color that's right next to it on the inside. So let's do this. I'm holding it pretty much straight up and down so that I can use the tip and get a fine, excuse me, a fine line instead of having a, oh, okay, now it's beginning to show up more, right? And then here, this will be good to have a red line in here. Okay. And I'm purposefully not making the line straight. I'm giving it a lot of personality. There we go. Cool. Let's just put a few more dots of red in here just to sort of tie that together like that. Okay, now that shows up a little bit more. Can you see where it's showing up more? You want to have some contrast between your darks and your lights. Now, what I'd like to do here is I would like to put maybe, do I want to put a line across there? Nah, actually, I don't want to put a line across there. I'm just going to leave it open like that. I kind of like that. But I may want to draw in some leaves, some other leaves here. So let me look at some more acrylic markers. This is a nice green. Let's see, there's a somewhat dark green here. Let's try this one first. These, for some reason, don't need to be shaken. These Artistro, I love them. They don't need to be shaken. But what I'm going to do is I think I will do another, let's draw a leaf right here, right? So it's like there's a leaf coming off of here and bring it back here underneath you like that. And I'm just going to make most of it green. I can always come back over top of it with another color, like maybe black, and put the lines in or something. I'm feeling like I want to have the greenness there. There we go. And nice. The nice thing about having a marker like this instead of a brush is you can really get close to the edges of what you're working with. Close to the edges of the flower without actually touching the flower, which is great. Okay, there we go. Fabulous. So now we've got a leaf behind there, which kind of separates that flower from that pink area. Let's put another leaf here, going this way. And this one is going to sort of go behind there. Okay, that works. And let's fill this one in. I don't want to get it on the black because I want the black to really stand out. There we go. So there's another one. That's nice. I like the way that's tying that all together up there. Fabulous. And then I'm going to put another green one over here, sort of coming out of the vase. And bring it this way. There. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll help give a little more interest to this area of the painting. There's a lot of interest going on over here in the background and not a lot over here. So I want to bring more interest into this side of the painting. So this will help that. Just do that. Nice. So another leaf right there. I'm just evaluating, looking at where it's going. I actually think this is a good place to stop. Sometimes it's good to stop, leave it overnight, take a look at it the next day. Oh, one other thing here on the black. Of course, we can put some designs on the black, right? And besides that, this Posca marker I was using earlier to make these lines here, the Posca marker is a little bit bigger tip. It's a 0.9 to 1.3 millimeter tip. Okay, so this is my favorite for more fine tip. It says extra fine tip. I believe it's a point. Hey, Whimsy Shop, welcome in, welcome in. I believe this is more, it's a 0.7 millimeter. It's the Grabby or Grabby acrylic marker. So it is a pump marker. Let's pump it a little bit here. And you do have to press the tip to get the paint to flow. And then I'm just wondering if I can put like little designs on here. Why don't I do fun little lines like this? Now what I want you to notice is look at how white this goes on. It is beautiful. I skipped a little bit there, but that's okay. I kind of did that on purpose. I mean, I'm trying to be very light. What I find with good white markers is that if you can use them with a light touch, they seem to deposit the paint a little bit better. So bring it around here. Look at these. And connect up to this one that was over here. Ooh, there we go. Of course, I have to do 3 lines, right? So that was one. Now I don't want to go over top of the line that I just did. Maybe I'll start from here. That'll be better. I start from here. This is number 2. And just go down like that. It gets a little bit wider over here. My hand. I was having a hard time. I often do this, which is turn the page so I can get a better. Do it better. It's not exactly the same as the other side, but it's handmade, so it doesn't have to be the same as the other side, right? There we go. Nice. And then here. Now I could have put any type of design on there. I could have put little stars on it, put little circles on it, whatever. It's whatever kinds of lines and shapes you like to make. Okay, I'm going to go down from here now because it's spitting. So what happens is when you start to go backwards instead of forwards as you're using these pens, they spit. And then you get little bits everywhere. Okay, there we go. And that hooked up to there. Perfect. And so now we've got lines on our black. I like the black and white. All right. So that makes it even more interesting, right? There. Okay. So we are going to leave this for now. I will look at it tomorrow, see where I think it needs some extra work on it. What I do is I finish the artwork between now and next week so that I can show the artwork to you in its finished form. And yeah, because I can see looking at it, I'm like, it's okay, but I don't know if it's done yet. Sometimes I have to wait till the next day to make decisions in order to decide whether the piece is done or not. And then I may go back in and make some other tweaks or adjustments. Maybe I'll collage something else onto it over here. I don't know. I don't know at this point. You definitely need to give it a little bit of a rest and let it percolate and then come back to it. Sometimes I know they're done as I'm working on them, and other times I look at them and I'm like, this is not quite done yet. I feel like there might be more to do. But then when I look at it tomorrow in the sunlight, there may not be anything else to do. It may be perfect the way it is. I may just want to put my signature on it and say, she's done. And so that's my full process now. You're seeing from start to finish of scribbling in the background. So creating that interest in the background and then making decisions with various types of papers of how to cut shapes and cut a silhouette. So that was a silhouette there. We cut that piece out of it. And how I used my mat to audition along the way, just to be sure that I was feeling like I had things positioned in the right place, up and down, side to side, like that. Okay, to try to keep balance in the painting. So sometimes it might not look like it's done like this without a mat, but then once you throw a mat on it, you may be like, oh my gosh, all I need to do is put my signature on there and I'm done. You just don't know. You don't know until you look at it with fresh eyes. And that is what I'm going to do tomorrow, is look at it with fresh eyes. Okay, so that is the end of the collage portion of the show. I want to thank you for joining me for that. I hope you had a good time.